Hey there, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley with you. It is about 8 o'clock here, so we're talking about the winter storm. Yes, we are. A snowstorm this time for North Carolina. Still have some questions, of course, about exact locations, how much, in what towns, but overall getting more of an idea of what this system is going to bring our way. The timing, pretty much just Saturday. It's a Saturday event. What's falling? It is all snow, no ice, no sleet, no freezing rain, and the impact's mostly going to be on the roads, as you might expect. And it will be a pretty big deal. You know, whenever we get a couple inches of snowfall, that is going to be a thing. So let's take a look here and get to the maps. We're talking about a weather impact alert for the Piedmont Triad for really a couple of days, Saturday into Sunday and then into Monday. As far as the reasoning behind all of that, we're looking at significant amounts of snowfall. After that, well, let's take a look at the timing and the ending. I think the timing is really important to kind of get you safe when you need to be home. The earliest I could see this being an issue when it comes to starting would be that late evening Friday timeframe. We'll show you the models in just a second, but Friday night, that seems to be about when it could start coming down. Ending, that would be looking like Saturday night into early Sunday morning. And how much we could be getting? Well, several inches of fluffy snow. Yeah, that's a possibility. In fact, looking pretty likely for a good chunk of our area. That travel is going to be a problem. As we know, travel can be tough, hard to move around, all of these things. I do think travel could be difficult this weekend and going into next week because of whatever is left on our roadways. So let's kind of be mindful of that. No need to hide it at this point. Let's kind of talk about what we're expecting in terms of who could see how much. Snow totals. There's a lot of wiggle room here. And one of the things that we're going to mention in the forecast is when you're talking about a snow forecast, there are so many things that can go right or have to go right to get that to happen. There are also a lot of things that can go wrong. So when I'm coming up with a forecast, I'm trying to think of all the little ways I can poke holes in the argument. What might change, or what could go, what has to happen right for this to play out? And one of the things I think about in this system that might be a bit of a fly in the ointment is how much moisture do we have available to us really? Throughout the week, the system has, at times, it started out as being a little bit offshore and we weren't quite sure how much moisture. Now it's pretty clear there's going to be moisture across the Carolinas. But the fact of the matter is that there's still debates on how much we could actually see. And that has to do with the level of dry air that'll be in place ahead of time. You really have to have it coming down for a while to overcome that dry air and to get the snow to fall. And so I think it's going to be several hours before we actually start to see the precipitation hitting the ground. That's one part of it. And another part of it is something that we call a dry slot. So I've drawn this in almost up closer to the Raleigh area. These dry slots, when they happen, what they can do is they can be a local area of lower moisture. And that could be a factor along our northern counties and in the northern Piedmont. Now, keep in mind, I'm still forecasting 1 to 3 inches at least for everybody. And that's a real snow. It's a dry, fluffy snow too, so it stacks up a little bit higher. For most of the Triad, I'm still forecasting 3 to 6 inches, which is a really decent amount. Think about it this way. We haven't had over 4 inches since way back in 2018. So it's been a while, right? It's been a long while, actually. So let's keep an eye on that here. I think about 3 to 6 inches, that's a good place to start. One of the problems with this storm system too, you're going to have some dry slots and you're also going to have some heavier banding features that kind of almost set up like summer thunderstorms. And when you get into these heavier snow bands, you can stack the snow, you can get your totals, you really can. But at the same time, if you never get them, you might have some trouble getting the amount. So this is a starting point. It sure can change. We're going to get more data tonight. We'll get more data tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. Game on, right? We'll talk about it ad nauseum until it gets here, and then we'll start to put the sticks in the ground and see what we get. But hey, if we get 3 to 6 inches, don't sneeze at that. I mean, I know there are people out there throwing out 8 to 12. I could see how this thing gets to that level, but you really need a lot of things to go right to get there, and that's just not a good starting block for me. Futurecast, looking ahead through tomorrow evening. So, 11 o'clock on Friday, what's coming down? Anything? Maybe? Maybe it's still dry. That's kind of what the question is at this point in time. I think a lot of this falling Friday evening will be what we call virga, where it's not really reaching the ground. And you see what might be happening on Saturday morning as well. You actually could still have dry air preventing it from snowing. So there's going to be some stressful moments. On Saturday morning when you're waking up, you're saying, where's the snow? Where's the snow? Others might be seeing it already, and you might already have 1 to 2 inches. So it's really going to be a tale of the haves and the have-nots, I think, and we'll adjust the maps as needed. As we go throughout the day, the radar should be able to fill in the gaps pretty nicely. And then toward the end of it, we start to get the dry air gobbling us up again, and by midnight, the snow is moving away. The snow is moving away. And so what does that all mean? What are the impacts from that? Well, I do expect that we'll have a high impact when it comes to snow. If you have 3 to 4 inches of snow on the ground, that's going to be a hard thing to drive in. Shoot, if you have 6 to 7 or even 8 inches, that's going to be a hard thing to drive in as well. So those are going to be impacts on the roadways. As far as what else? Ice. Yeah, that could be a no factor at all because we're not going to get it. That's just something I wanted to put on the graphic there to kind of make sure that you know this is not a sleet event, this is not an ice event. Usually we have some combination of the two, not this time. Travel problems. I think that's our biggest impact here. Travel problems will be an issue. Power probably won't be. We'll talk a little bit about the wind coming up in just a second, but I don't expect power to be a real issue with this storm system. Now, if you're asking, well, what can go right and what can go wrong? How does your forecast bust? Well, if we have too much dry air around, and boy, this thing never can get the plane off the ground, and it just really can't get going, I could see a world where we're in that 1 to 3 inch range, or even trace to 3 inch range. That can happen. But if you get big, heavy snow bands that sit over you for several hours, you could absolutely end up with more than 6 inches. And someone in North Carolina, well, they'll probably get 10 inches. I think the better chances of that are actually closer to the coast, as we'll explain in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the wind speed we're going to be dealing with during the system. So Friday night, not too much of a breeze, but going into Saturday, the wind is going to pick up a little bit through the day. And so our wind gusts should be in the 25 to 30 mile per hour range. Pretty impressive stuff. And then as we go into Saturday evening, it could get a little bit gustier than that with winds of about 25 to 30 miles per hour. So those are all factors to consider here, that with this dry, fluffy snow falling, a lot of it is going to be blown around. And that can do a couple things. It can drift, and it can make snow banks almost of sorts. It can also make it harder to measure that snowfall. So that might be a challenge that you have when you're going out back to try and see how much you ended up with. Beyond that, we also have cold air as a concern. So we have snow coming, we've got a little wind coming, and then with that, we've also got cold to worry about. We have something called an extreme cold watch. And this will probably be upgraded as we get closer, but an extreme cold watch, what that means is that we're likely to have some really nasty wind chills. And this is going to be something that we're tracking going into Sunday morning especially. So let me load up the different wind chill temperatures. Throughout the storm on Saturday, it's going to feel like the single digits. It will feel like it's right around 0. And then as we go throughout the storm, only going to get worse. Those winds are picking up. The temperatures, the air temperatures are in the teens at this point. So I really think that it's going to feel pretty low, really pretty low. And then we're going to see that we're going into Sunday morning. That should be the worst of it. Below 0 for the wind chills are possible. That's not something we see very often. So we really have to take that kind of cold seriously. If you are going to be out and about with the kids playing in the snow, make sure everybody is bundled up. I mean, you really got to be bundled, and maybe even take breaks, right? Limit that time outside. Don't be spending outside 4 hours in the snowfall or something. Go in every now and then, go back out, go in, go back out, that kind of thing. As far as impacts, it's all about impacts, isn't it? Well, snow is a main impact, and for most of us, we should end up in that 3 to 6 inch range. I think the majority of this falling down would be Saturday morning through Saturday evening. Otherwise, it's mostly of the lighter variety. Wind gusts, they'll be a bit of a factor. And so I think that'll be something that we keep an eye on with those gusty winds Saturday afternoon. And remember, that could be blowing the snow around. Power outages shouldn't really be a big problem. But never say never. I have seen some trees go down in our area with 30 mile per hour gusts. I just don't think it's a big concern here. And the snow, while heavy at times, it also isn't super heavy. I know that sounds weird. We could have heavy snow, but it's not heavy. It doesn't weigh a lot. And so a lot of it will be just blown right off the trees, and it's not going to sit on the power lines or sit on those tree branches like a heavy, wet snow does. Dangerous travel, almost a given every time we have a winter system, and it's no different this time. So to put it simply for you in another way, here's your time frame. Friday night, be a little cautious. Some of that snow could start to come down. The roads could get a little slick, overnight especially. Saturday, snow most of the day, not all the time. Not everybody gets the same. There are winners and losers here, but it's windy, it's snowy. You'll probably want to avoid travel. Saturday night, the snow will be winding down, but the roads will be covered with snow, and it'll be very cold. On Sunday, that's the cleanup day. The wind chill will be below zero, and it'll be a big factor. And you're going to have to deal with that and kind of be safe about it as well. So those are all the things we're looking at. Hey, it's been a while, and I don't know if we'll break it this weekend. I guess I am forecasting 3 to 6 inches. 2,600 days have we a 4-inch snowfall in the cards. This is the longest stretch all time for Greensboro to go without a 4-inch snow. This might be the year. Maybe we're able to do it on Saturday. There are certainly enough ingredients at play that we might be able to make it happen. So if you're a snow lover, you should be pretty excited, or at least be looking forward to it. Keep your expectations in check, though. I know this is our first snowfall map. It could be adjusted downward or adjusted upward. These are things that we always are refining and kind of tweaking a little bit as we go along the line. But right now, I feel okay with where we are. We're monitoring the dry air. We're going to monitor the level of moisture that we're able to get, and those heavier bands versus the drier slots. Those are the things that we'll be keeping an eye on. So I'll leave you with that for now. Thanks for watching. Snow, it is likely heading into Saturday for the second weekend in a row, a winter storm in the Carolinas. We'll be keeping you posted here on WFMY+.